let's get into this Aaron Judge thing. It's interesting when we talk about the New York Yankees and not winning a bid for a player. This is an organization that never loses players to free agency. Ever since George Steinbrenner came back from the suspension, George Steinbrenner built this team around going after and buying players, but also building players through the farm system and making sure that they never leave this team. Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, Mariano Rivera, Jorge Posada. The only one that left was Andy Pettitte. That's because of Roger Clemens. And then he came back, by the way. But we have seen this before where the Yankees have never lost a player in free agency. And now all of a sudden, with all the money that's being wiggled around, all these multi-billion-dollar owners, Aaron Judge, an hour before Friday's game, decided not to extend the contract that the Yankees offered him for $213 million for 7 years, which would make him the highest paid Yankee of all time. Aaron Judge, one of the faces of baseball, he's the face of the Yankees. I told everybody on the Sports Loudmouths, if the Yankees do not get this done before the season, they're going to lose him in free agency because there'll be teams lining up for Aaron Judge because he's a name, he's a power bat, and he has been one of the faces of baseball for years. And I know there's a lot of Yankee fans that I know that are huge Aaron Judge fans. My friend Barry and his son love him. And Aaron Judge has really been a great Samaritan and a great leader for this Yankee team, who, by the way, has never won with him. Knowing that he did not sign that contract, you have to be worried. You have to look towards the future with possibly Mr. 99 not in right field. We could start talking about that throughout this season because, again, this could be the final year, Speedy, of Aaron Judge with the New York Yankees.
There's two things that this deal definitely shows about Aaron Judge. One, he's banking on his popularity to get that money he wants somewhere else. The rumor was 7 years and $250 million.
15.
So he's banking on maybe either getting a longer contract or a bigger contract because of he's a popular name. He's one of the probably 5 most popular players in baseball. So a team that either isn't a contender or is a small market team that wants to garner fans, because Aaron Judge, very popular with the fans, very popular with young kids signing the baseballs, and he's an icon. People know who he is. He's not the best player in baseball, but he's one of the biggest names, one of the faces, like you were saying. Some team is going to take that chance. That's what he's banking on. So that's number one. And number two, because he cares more about the money, he might not care as much about winning a championship. Now, with these new CBA rules in place, it's going to make it a little easier for some of these middle and small market teams, but that doesn't guarantee anything in terms of them spending the money too. And Aaron Judge, is he going to expect people to get that contract somewhere else where he still has to play out this season? And if he's not healthy or he struggles a little more, because remember, he's 30 years old and going to be 31 years old in a market that does not pay older hitters as much, especially right-handed hitters, and also doesn't pay as much older corner outfielders. So he's going to have to try to make himself the exception to the market for the last really 6 years, and teams and GMs just aren't doing that anymore.
I think it's very interesting because, Speedy, you were saying that he wasn't going to get over for $200 million.
I didn't think so because of the way the market was trending.
But I think the Yankees gave him that money because it's Aaron Judge, and he's been the face of the organization, and they wanted to make sure that he would stay here as a Yankee for the rest of his career. But now you're going to have to start looking at losing him in the offseason and actually moving on from Aaron Judge. Now, there were stories coming out from different writers that write for the Yankees that the Yankees are going to go heavily after Juan Soto in the offseason. Now, they're going to have to pay Juan Soto a lot of money because he's going to want between $400 and $500 million. Maybe the Yankees look at Juan Soto, who will only be 24 next year, as a guy that you can pay him that kind of money and you know that you're going to have him for years. But if you're a Yankee fan right now, even if you get Juan Soto, and Juan Soto is one of the top 3 best players in the league, but to lose a player like Aaron Judge, that's a significant loss. And if you're a Yankee fan that want to see Aaron Judge to be a Yankee for the rest of his career, the only thing I could say about this is cherish what you're watching right now with him on a Yankee field, because there will be teams that'll be lining up for him in the offseason when the free agent market opens up. Philadelphia, with Bryce Harper over there. Why not add Aaron Judge? You remember, Joe Girardi is the manager over there. Why not go to Philadelphia? That's something I wouldn't be surprised if Philadelphia brings him in. Anaheim, who likes to spend money, with obviously Mike Trout out there and Ohtani. You put Aaron Judge in that lineup with Rendon. I told you the Red Sox, they're going to be a team that's going to be willing to maybe pay a player like Aaron Judge because they're not going to pay Bogarts at the end of the season. So there are places for Aaron Judge. And those are just 3 or 4 teams that I mentioned. The Padres are another team that like to spend money too. If they can get rid of Hosmer's contract, I can absolutely see Aaron Judge go to the Padres. If you're a Yankee fan, again, I'm not excited about this and looking towards the future of where this team is, you better hope that they win this year with the team that they have right now. And I don't believe that he's doing it just for the money. He doesn't want to win championships. I believe that Aaron Judge believes that he wants to make whatever he believes he should have made over the last couple of years because of this whole CBA rule where he wants to make all the money back that he lost. And that's where he's at right now.
That leads to another tricky dilemma, too, because the Yankees are in the best division in baseball that are probably, barring catastrophic injuries or catastrophic letdown, going to have 4 competitive teams that can make the playoffs. So the Yankees now have to decide, all right, do you want to get the best value for Aaron Judge and garner it to either win now or garner it to help another position where they can maybe get more pitching, they can get another bat, a different bat? Juan Soto would be the highest of the highest, and Aaron Judge would likely be included in that kind of trade.
I've been hearing that if the Nationals do want to trade Juan Soto in the offseason, the lead guy is Volpe. He's the 10th best prospect in all of baseball. Some people believe he'll be a top 3 prospect by the end of the season. That's the guy that everybody is talking about where they believe if the Nationals will be interested in trading Juan Soto, he will be leading. He will be the centerpiece of that trade to land Juan Soto. But I don't know if the Yankees are going to be willing to trade him because they're going to have to trade Dominguez and possibly other prospects. And it's a lot to get Juan Soto. And then you got to pay him to top that all off. And remember, he's under contract for another 2 years, but he's already come out and said he's probably going to want an extension before that contract is up, before he goes to arbitration. So the Yankees are going to have to decide, pay Aaron Judge, give him the extra $20-25 million that he wants, or go out there and make a move for Juan Soto, who is a younger and probably a better all-around player than Aaron Judge, and actually make a movement where you're going to trade away your whole farm system. And the Yankees, man, had a big win on Friday, winning in extra innings. I've told everybody that Donaldson's going to play a big part in this lineup. He had 2 hits and an RBI in this game. And I think Rizzo's going to play a big part in this lineup this year, too, who hit a home run as well. So I think where you look at the Yankees and the position that the Yankees are in right now, these guys, if they stay healthy, this lineup is as good as any lineup in baseball. They scored 5 runs with Garrett Cole on the mound and 1 in extra innings. Usually when you see Garrett Cole on the mound, you expect them to win by like 2-1 or 3-0. The Yankees won a big game for the home opener. Let's see if they keep it up in this series and win this series against a very good Boston Red Sox team.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is you see the Yankees can also do analytic and traditional lineups. Josh Donaldson, I think for the first time in his career, hit leadoff in that game, too, and played very well. And you're seeing the Yankees analytic lineup take approach. Rizzo hitting 3rd, Gallo hitting 5th, kind of more. Is that Aaron Hicks hitting 6th to try to get on base to help the other guys produce? And Kiner Falefa is kind of that double leadoff guy who ended up being the ghost runner that scored the winning run in that game against the Red Sox. So the Yankees could do a lot of different things, and you could tell with this kind of lineup, too, Aaron Boone's not afraid to move it around.
With the Yankees in the lineup, they could do a lot of things. I expect the Yankees to hit very well, and I think they're very well protected. Even if Donaldson hits leadoff, and by the way, DJ LeMahieu was batting, 7th?
He was batting 5th in that game.
DJ LeMahieu is one of the best hitters in baseball. I thought he was going to hit leadoff, so it's very interesting how Boone is really setting up this roster, but I expect DJ LeMahieu to bat off leadoff a couple of times every single week. So I don't think it's going to be Josh Donaldson. I think Josh Donaldson won't play every single game this year. If you see Donaldson in 135 games, that's a great season for Donaldson. And I expect that. I expect Donaldson to have an all-star year. I think a lot of these guys could have all-star years with this lineup the way it is. And Marwin Gonzalez is another guy that I believe is going to play a big part of this lineup, especially where you could put him all over the field. As far as the Mets concerned, I expected the Mets to win Game 1. And I was very surprised that Max Scherzer did not pitch in Game 1, but this hamstring problem might not be as small as people think it is. Now, I like Max, and I think Max is going to play a big part of this team in this rotation as the season progresses. But if he is anywhere where I believe he can't stay healthy for the whole season, like Jacob deGrom, watch out. There could be a huge problem with this rotation moving forward.
Yeah, Max Scherzer did end up pitching in yesterday's game against the Nationals, had some uncharacteristic trouble for his standards. Now, for a traditional pitcher, it might not be as bad. He allowed 3 runs, but still, for his standards, you want him to be a lot better than that. And maybe that's showing another thing about the Mets where they might be rushing him back or forcing him to pitch more or more often with Jacob deGrom's injury. And the Mets kind of are built that way where they don't have other length guys. Tyler McGill did look good opening day, but still, he's not really a length guy. And he's also a guy that could be used in openers, could be used out of the bullpen. Same kind of thing with their other young pitchers. Even Carrasco, too, is a veteran guy, never really was a length guy in his career with Cleveland either. He was a good 6-inning guy, but never really could stretch to 7 like a lot of these other veteran pitchers do, too. So if they're doing that with Scherzer, they're probably forcing him to do length, and that could be concerning long term.
I think it's going to be very concerning. And with this rotation, you have to expect this rotation to be the strength of this team. If they're going to depend on this lineup and this lineup gets cold, and we saw last year there were certain aspects, especially the beginning of the season and before the All-Star break, the Mets had problems hitting the ball. They couldn't get runs if you paid them to. So if the Mets can't get runs and this pitching staff can't keep teams down from 1 or 2 runs, the Mets are going to be in huge trouble this year, and they'll have a major problem keeping up with some of the good teams in their division.
The other thing, too, is the bullpen depth. We saw it do well in game 1, but still questionable for certain guys to bounce back. Trevor May had a rough start the first game where he had trouble last year, too. Seth Lugo was good at certain points, but still had to battle a lot of the time, where we've seen him dominate and be the best relief pitcher, too. So there's definitely a little bit of concern with that. The offense was good at times, bad at times for the Mets, but like you were saying, their stars only had certain stretches where they did well last year. Outside of Alonso. Alonso was pretty steady the whole year, but everyone else was flash one and then died off. And the Mets seemed like the most consistent team off, which was they had all those replacement players in the middle of the season last year when they did well in June. And then after the All-Star break, they got all the starters back. They just fell off a massive cliff.
How many wins does the Mets have this year? Where do you predict the Mets to have?
Just because they still have more depth than I think last year, I will say, I'll say 86.
I say the Mets win 92 games.
92, okay.
I say the Mets win 92 games. I say the Yankees win 96.
All right.
I think the Yankees are closer to 100 than the Mets are. If the Yankees stay healthy, they could possibly win 100. But I'm going to be a little bit more protective on this. I say the Yankees win 96, and they're a playoff team, and they can win the division. Especially,
they definitely could win the division.
Yes.
if they do end up winning that much. That division will be tough, and it will depend on health for all those teams in that division, too. The Rays had a lot of guys that were hurt last year, and then they traded some off guys.
They're weak this year, and I think the Rays might be the team that's the odd team out.
I have them as the last one in, but I have the Red Sox as the odd one out just because they're already dealing with the injuries in their rotation right now. I have the Blue Jays, Yankees, and Rays in that division, and in the National League East, I have the Braves and the Mets.
Interesting.